Thank you so much for coming. This will be fun. We'll see a bunch of people start to filter in as we get going, but I appreciate you guys coming over here. Quick little intros first before we get going. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stephanie Daly. I am a custom home builder out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been using QR codes on my job site for a while now, and I bet I've tried every way imaginable to use these and to make our job sites more efficient and more informative for everyone. And that's kind of led to the program that we use today, and you guys will get to learn a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm Steve. I'm Stephanie's life partner, and I own a marketing company. She came to us to help create a solution to help with sharing files on the job site. So we're going to give you a little bit of story. Today's more of a journey of how we got to where we are. So if you want to share files digitally on your job site, whether you want to use your own QR code system or figure out a way or use what we've already created, our goal is just to give you enough information to where you're confident and you can go out and help communicate better with your trades. We do have some really cool limited edition hats, so stick around to the end and we'll make sure we get everyone a hat for coming and spending some time with us. It's the last show over here of the day, and I believe happy hour starts, so all things are good in the world over here. So we are talking about digital communication, particularly with QR codes on the job site. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, has anyone tried putting QR codes or some form of digital communication on their job site? Perfect. Is anyone using job site codes today? Awesome.
Also,
cool.
a few
Here,
of you. Cool.
There's a couple autographed hats here. We're gonna throw out. Who raised their hand over here? There we go. Thank you.
Flying hats. Watch out.
So we're gonna go on that journey of kind of some things that you guys have probably been through that you've learned with your trades on what works and what doesn't work. First things first. This is kind of a messy flow chart of me coming from the marketing world. I worked in med device for 18 years of my life, started an agency. Coming into construction, there were a lot of questions that I had about processes and how they worked. This is kind of what it looked like with me in terms of file sharing. Starting off at the very beginning with bidding, right? Typically you have your plan sets you send out to your vendors for bidding. The client might have changed their mind, heck, 15 times by the time the bid comes in. You have to resend the paperwork. So if we had a flow chart for that process, the vendor probably received the file, they probably put the bid together, maybe it had changed in the meantime, you email one back, it's just endless cycle of just poor communication. Then next you have your city inspector that needs all of the SWIP documents posted on a job board and they get destroyed, they go missing. You have a phone call of, hey, where are these documents at? Further down the road, then the trades come in and the client, especially in custom homes, they change their mind a lot. So by the time you leave on Friday, Monday, you probably have a new set of plans. So that weekend tradesman and tradeswoman came in, now there's probably a revision or a change order for using the outdated plan. So a lot of communication gaps that hopefully we can bridge with technology today. These are some pictures that I had taken, actually some local job sites. We're both out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And this is what I saw with paper on the job site. When we started our software job site codes, we had a beta group of about 200 people. About half of them were in trades. And I heard some of the funniest stories about spec books going hunting for the weekend and going completely missing, being coffee stained, or typically looking something like this. So not only is it hard to get the information off the plans, now you're making an unnecessary phone call to your GC or project manager, and you're kind of delaying the project by just asking questions that don't really need to be asked.
This one's a common one for us. So I don't know how many times you guys have, if you are GCs or if you work for GCs, who draw their specs or ideas on the drywall. And we do it all the time. These are actually both photos of my job sites. And that's kind of just something that happens all the time. You'll grab a pen or Sharpie or construction pencil and you're trying to tell the carpenter, this is how I want this detail drawn, and we're sketching it on the drywall. Both of these jobs were level 5 drywall. So if you look at the stage they were at before, you can tell it's not done. So by the time the drywall are finished, those sketches of the finished carpentry details had disappeared. This is another common one for both Steve and I. This is another one of my job sites. And I had a designer who'd made these really great, beautiful cut sheets for me for tile layouts, for finished carpentry details. And you can see what's happened is someone's come through the 3-ring binder in the job site and ripped it out, took it wherever they needed it to be, and the next person that needed it couldn't find it.
So a lot of the problems that we encountered, so again, we had that beta group, about 200 phone calls that we had before we even thought we could create a product. And when we talked to both trades and general contractors, builders, project managers, number one, plans change frequently. So keeping up-to-date files on the job site, you're either driving back and forth multiple times or you're sending text messages and emails trying to keep your trades up to date, which doesn't really solve too many problems. Again, they can go outdated. So if you make an update on a Friday, your trades are going to come in over the weekend to get caught up. Monday, they didn't have that most up-to-date file, so now we have an expensive change order to deal with based just because of the paper communication. Outdated plans, they lead to those mistakes and costly rework, like I said. So trades, they lose confidence in the files that are on the job site. So now we have an unnecessary communication of, hey, Stephanie, I just got to the job site. Is this the most recent file? Yes, it is. Okay, well, I don't trust it because last week it wasn't and you got mad at me for it. And that happens all the time from what I've seen. Paper documents go missing. This is a true story. Matt was in Salt Lake City for the HBA last month. We were driving him to the airport and there was a spec book on the back of a plumbing van just waving in the wind. And it was kind of comical to me, but it's sad for the fact that that book's long gone. So someone's gonna have a bad day there. They get damaged. We saw the picture, coffee stains, they get torn, they tear them out. That piece of paper goes missing forever. And like I said, they need to be driven to the job site all the time, constantly updated. We also have a new tool that thankfully to COVID, I guess there are some good things that came out of it. Socially distancing is one of them. QR code is another one, where now we have someone who hasn't spent much time using technology in their career, trades particularly. Everybody was familiar with the QR code. So we've seen a lot of people use their own system with Dropbox, with Google Drive. We've created a system to use QR codes, but ultimately it's a tool to be the most convenient and easy way for trades to access the most recent information. So as long as we're keeping our material up to date in whatever file storage software we're using, the trades, we've eliminated all of those problems on the last slide. Yep. So Stephanie's going to give you a little story about how we got started. So again, I came from med device. Building is not my forte. Stephanie is the expert here, but she came to me with a little bit of a problem.
So we use just about every software we could find to try and make this work. I'm sure many of you that don't use the program that I use today have tried a lot of these different things. So I started in Dropbox, and that was primarily because I was paying for a Dropbox subscription already. I had spent all this money, I had all the unlimited storage, and so I was gonna store things there. The problem I ran into is that usually when the trades would get on the job site, they would scan the QR code and it would pop up and say, download the Dropbox app. And my plumber would go, I'm not downloading this ridiculous app, just tell me where the faucet goes. I know it's a wall faucet, what height do you want it at? And he got frustrated immediately. And I knew right away when I was trying to take our old paper spec book and turn it into a nice, neat, beautiful, great product for us to use that always had good information, that I was gonna run into some problems. And I kind of assumed that that was going to be one of them, was trying to get some of my older trades on the job site to adopt a new idea. So even just the slightest inconvenience of saying like, download the Dropbox app made people turned off by just using that right away. So on that one job, I redid everything and I uploaded it all to Google Drive. And I thought, okay, problem solved. I can open Google Drive and it can be an unlocked, completely open file storage platform. But every time they'd scan it, it would say, enter your Google email. And same thing, it didn't care to download an app as much as it wanted them to enter their account info. But it's really doing the exact same thing. It's asking us to take an extra step and making the tradesperson frustrated, which is the last thing I wanted to have happen. The other problem I was noticing in Google Drive was if I had a job site that maybe didn't have the greatest cell service, they weren't getting updated information. And I don't know if it was necessarily the cell service as much as it was they would scan it on a Monday and leave and come back on a Wednesday and scan it again. But instead of it opening a new web browser, he already had it open somewhere in one of his 15 windows, and it would just pop that one up again. So it wasn't uploading the newest data, it was just opening the other window that was already in their phone. So the plumber would go and mount our wall-mounted faucet at the wrong height because he didn't see the new info. So I clearly realized there was a big problem with Google Drive not updating all the time. And that kind of led us to the point where now we're providing the trades not only bad information, but I'm having to apologize for something that now they're not going to want to use in the future.
And another thing about that as well is I bet every one of us in this room probably organize our files in a different way. So now you're assuming that the trade understands your methodology to your file organization. Well, they don't. So as soon as they click and think the file's where they clicked that first time and it's not, you're going to lose their interest. So if you are going to use your own solution, that's probably lesson number one, is make sure that it's a really easy structure that everyone can navigate. What we do at JobSite Codes is the way we've created is we mimicked your traditional spec book. So everyone using a spec book on the site today, you probably have a 3-ring binder, that's your project. You open it up, you either have your areas or your trades, and then you have your files. So we've simplified it in such a manner that trades are comfortable in navigating, getting back and forth to find files. So if you are going to use a file sharing software, that's probably point number one, is just to make sure that you keep the same consistent organizational method and everyone is on board in using that.
Yeah, I think a common thing that we kept hearing over and over again, if the electrician is trying to find a height for a chandelier in the stairway, and he opens up the electrical portion of that spec book, he's flipping through all the light fixtures in the house to find the stairwell light fixture. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he knows which fixture it is, unless it's labeled stairwell, right? So the biggest problem, and the thing that kind of led me towards organizing more by area or room, was because if that electrician is looking for the stairwell light fixture, they should just go in and click the stairwell folder, and it opens up the flooring for the stairwell, the railing details, the light fixture, all of the stuff for that one area. Instead of, the plumber flipping through 50 pages of plumbing specs to find the tub filler. That was a common thing, and more of a common theme that we were hearing from people was, I don't want my time wasted. If I'm going to try and learn something new, if you're going to ask me to use some new software, I'm happy to try this, but don't make it inconvenient for me. Let me get my job done. A lot of these guys have bid your job in a way that they know they're making money. If we're inconveniencing them or adding extra time to their job sites, they're not going to be very happy with you in the end, and then they're just going to increase their price.
So, and that's part of the beta group when we did the interview. Some of the things we uncovered, it wasn't necessarily that trades didn't really want to use a new solution, it's that they didn't want to onboard a new solution. They didn't want to take their gloves off when it was cold. They didn't want to download an app. They didn't want to figure out how to use someone else's organizational system. They didn't want to put in a password and have to remember their password. So that was the biggest challenge that we had seen, especially with some of the other solutions, is those apps or Dropbox and Drive make you feel like you need to download an app. They make you feel like you need to log in where you might not necessarily have to. With JobSite Codes, we've eliminated that, where it's a scan and go and you have access to the entire project. So that's part number two, is make sure that you're building this for better communication with your trades. So let's make it easy for them. They want to scan something, they don't want to learn a new tool, and they want to have instant access to the files. So that's what we did with JobSite Codes. So JobSite Codes launched in May 31st of last year. So this is our first full year in business. We're in 46 states and 6 countries. It's being widely adopted across the globe. A lot of people are loving what we've built. So the cool thing is we've interviewed a lot of people, a lot of builders, to figure out exactly what works on the job site. So as we go through this, again, as you see features we've implemented, you can certainly add these to your own system, or you can use a system that's already created out there. So that's what we've done. So to date, we've eliminated the use of 350,000 sheets of paper. So not only are we eliminating those out-of-date pieces of papers, we're environmentally friendly in a small sort of a way. Hopefully we can do more into the future. But that's a really big number of papers that are likely going missing, being thrown in the garbage, probably out of date. and resulting in communication issues. IBS was our first big show last year. We were actually selected as one of the top 20 new startups and one of the top 10 innovative products. So we were recognized there. We got to speak against some pretty big names that you've seen at this show as well. So we knew that we had a problem that we were potentially solving out there in the right way. We are definitely consumer driven, so everything that we do is based off of testimony. We keep our clients extremely close. Last year we added 40 new features just based on client feedback, and we're launching 4 new features in the coming quarter based 100% on client feedback. So we're immersed in what the market is demanding per se. So our mission is ultimately to solve that problem of job site communication and file sharing on the job site. That's what we're always going to do. We are going to find new ways to help trades and home builders communicate into the future, and that's our goal 100% as we move forward.
So I know a lot of you guys are probably bidding your jobs. You're sending out your plans, whatever specs you have to get bids before you actually start construction, or maybe while you're working. In my case, what I do is I have a really long meeting with the clients. I take their engineered set of plans, I take all the information I can learn from them, their designer, and I put it all into an email and I send it out to all my trades, right? And I'm looking for them to take the information I've given them and give me their bid. Now, the biggest problem I'm seeing is in those early stages, even architects are still uploading or altering those plans. If we're going through different things like the Architectural Review Committee, if many of you deal with HOAs, and kind of the changes that they want to implement after the plans are done, things are still changing. I had a really great example of a client I'm working with on a project right now in Park City, Utah, and one of the things that the Architectural Review Committee just added was about $175,000 worth of outriggers that are decorative on the exterior. And this was a problem because if I was sent out a PDF set of plans to my trades and then I didn't maybe send them an email saying, hey, this change was made, here's a new set, or maybe I even did that, they maybe downloaded the old one and then the new one and got them mixed up. That's a real big problem for me, and that's caused some issues. So I've started using a similar system, job site codes. You could do the same thing any other way, but using a file storage platform that keeps the most up-to-date files. So when the architect makes changes or the Architectural Review Committee makes changes, I pop in a new set of plans and it's uploaded instantly. So as BFS is going through doing their takeoffs on my job site, there is now a new set of plans that shows these $175,000 worth of outriggers on the plans that they can add. You can have a lot of mistakes that are made when bidding if things are changing or if the plans are being updated and your trades or your suppliers aren't getting the most up-to-date info.
And with job site codes, so there's no app required, it's all web-based, and when the files are updated, it removes any old revision. So like Stephanie said, with Dropbox, there's a chance that someone could have come back to the job site, still had a link to an old file somehow, and potentially worked from that. So when we upload a file, it overwrites completely, and it also notifies anyone who's viewed that file that it's been updated or changed. There's ways you can add notes into the file so you can mention the changes specifically, but ultimately anyone that's viewed a file and it's changed, they're gonna know that something has changed. They can either reach out for more information or they can see the information that's kind of posted below. This is one of Stephanie's projects that she's working on, and this is kind of how she starts out. So Steph, if you want to walk through that a little bit.
Yeah, so originally, like really early on, I may just have an area that I'm calling stamped plans. You can see over here, I've listed it as stamped plans. That's just going out to all the trades saying, hey, here's your link. Up in the top corner, you'll see a thing that says share. That just sends me a link. So I can put that in an email and send it to anybody I want. So I'll share that with all my people. They can upload or go in, click on the plans, see everything up to date right away. There is you're good. There is a dashboard here that'll show you all of my jobs. So this is cool for me and my own kind of just keeping up to date on things. I love the fact that I can see how many people have scanned the QR codes. I love that I can see how many people are getting into these. So I know like what job sites, if I have different trades on different job sites, I know like, hey, my trades in Park City, Utah are really innovative. They're really getting into it and using this a lot. But my trades down in Sandy, Utah, maybe don't love it quite as much, and I can kind of try and find out more information on why. I can really alter it to work any way that I want, and that's a really good tool for me. This also just kind of gives me some overall information about how many files are in each job. There is unlimited file storage, so it doesn't really matter. It's more or less just for my own knowing. And then kind of like the last time I updated it, or if I have a guest user or someone else from my team who's working on things, I can kind of see when they last got in and uploaded it. So if I know the architect sent over a new set of plans yesterday, but Legacy Meadow is saying the last person someone got into it was 3 weeks ago, I know, like, hey, that hasn't been uploaded into the software.
And we built this too to where the QR codes, there's a print button there. The way that we've designed it is you actually never have to create a QR code. It automatically does it. So when you hit print, you have all the QR codes you need. And the way we've designed it is the QR codes, like I said earlier, they're just a tool to get the trade into the project. Once they're in, there's a hamburger icon. They can navigate every room, every file. So it is web-based. As long as you have that link, you can get into all the different files and see everything for the project. But one less step that you have to do in creating your project is as soon as you add your files, the QR codes are ready to print, hit print and you're done. So no more finding the QR code. They live on the job site for the duration of the project. Once they're up there, you never have to replace them. As long as you're changing the files on the back end, they'll automatically be published. So you could scan it 1 minute, change the file, 30 seconds later, the new file's already been uploaded and replaced.
One of the common things that I'm hearing a lot with that too is that if I had 20 areas in the project when I created it, but all of a sudden I added a spa or I added an outdoor pool house or something, I don't need to reprint all the QR codes. Once someone gets in it, they can click that little hamburger icon, go to any area in the house. So they don't necessarily have to keep going around rescanning QR code. It just gets them into the website so that they can then go to all the different spaces from there. So I don't know how many of you by raise of hands deal with SWIP on your job sites? So a few, not many. In Utah, it's awful, so don't come build in Salt Lake City, Utah. It is really bad. It's like something that they are very, very adamant about. So those of you that don't do it, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. And what it means is I'm creating a set of plans before I ever touch the job site, showing the city and the federal government how I'm gonna keep all the dirt on my job site, what I'm gonna do if the dirt gets off my job site, how I'm gonna put it back on the job site, where all my water goes, where I'm gonna wash things out, where I'm gonna wash out concrete, paint, drywall mud. It's a lot. And it's a very strict thing in Salt Lake City, Utah. Some places don't really care. Utah's really adamant about it. It kind of reminds me of that, like, if you've seen Monsters, Inc., how the little monster gets a little girl's sock on him and he freaks out because there's this sock that's now gone outside of her room. That's what SWIP is for the federal government. A little piece of dirt gets off my job site and the world ends, everything stops, I see a big fine on my job site and now I'm in trouble. So SWIP just means I have to have plans available for the federal government, so when the inspector comes on the job site, they can grab the plans and flip through it and go, okay, she says she's gonna have straw wattle around the job site and maybe fence, LOD fence or certain things, but they wanna see it physically, but they also want you to have it digitally in case they wanna use one or the other. I guess that's how they're feeling that day. You have to have both. So what I've done is I've created a SWIP like area on my set of plans. And that just means when they click on that SWIP room or when they scan that SWIP QR code, it takes them to my NOI, my notice of intent filing. It tells the federal government, yes, I do have a permit to be building here. This is how I plan to keep all the dirt on my site, and this is how I'm gonna clean it up, or who to contact if it's dirty, and you can find me. So I actually am using it right from the get-go, bids and SWIP. And those are two areas that really weren't intended originally when we were trying to figure out how to make this work. Those were two areas that we weren't trying to use it in. It just worked out that way. So you'll notice there's my NOI filing with the federal government, and then right below it is the plan. So they can just click on the image, open it up, scan through the 101 pages of NOI filing, find all the information they want to know. And there's a picture over there. Steve actually came to our job site. You can see a little folder that I've taped up with zip tape and made it just stick to the back of my sign with all the paper documents. That's actually the 5th folder and 5th print of paper documents because the sun just eats the plastic and they fall apart and get destroyed. But the QR code's right next to it and really easy for anyone to scan, and it was as simple as creating a new area and uploading whatever documents I needed.
So when you're thinking of QR codes on the job site, it's more than just communication with the trades. You can start all the way at the beginning and protect yourself from city inspectors if they need access to certain files. They want paper-based, those go missing, they get damaged. So you can have that backup solution posted to the job board. So that's what Stephanie does, is they're listed right on our job board. That QR code's right next to those printed plans, where hopefully on a weekend when she's trying to relax, she's not gonna get a call from a city inspector that came by because there was some dirt in the street.
So this is fun. These are just different people who are currently using the platform and some fun different ways other people are using it that wasn't really intended to be that way, or maybe unique ways that they're showing their trades, the QR codes. So this first one over here, they actually have uploaded job site rules. So they just write on it, these are our rules for our job site. I print them, laminate them, and tape them to the wall. That is basically what I was trying to avoid myself from doing with the handbook. As soon as I saw someone doing that, that was something we're absolutely going to start implementing. You can see that next image is actually one of my job sites. There's a whole sheet of QR codes for the house. There's the one QR code for a set of plans. That was for the building inspector, because that particular city does not want me to hand them a rolled stamp of plans. They want me to have digital plans available for them. The next one over is actually a home builder, Modern Splendor Homes, out of
They're out of Arizona, yep.
And they thought of something really cool that I loved. They have like an A-frame sign that they've taped their QR codes to, because I've been nailing them or taping them to the walls in my job sites, which work great until the drywaller comes around. And then they take them down so they can do their job. And then I've got to find them and nail them or tape them back up. This is awesome. He thought of something that even I didn't think of when we were starting using them. And then the last image is actually a photo from the Risinger build. If you had a chance to go over there yesterday, they actually chose to print them individually. When you go into print, they've made an option so you can print a whole sheet of QR codes, or you can just print one.
Yeah, and if you go to the Risinger build, there's actually some really cool features we don't have time to get into today that Matt used. We have what's called the Design Showcase. It's an add-on with one of our plans, but it gives you the ability to market your business. You can kind of create a promotional tool, highlight some of the fixtures that are in your house if it's a parade of homes, or you can just put it in your showroom and people can scan and see all those expensive photos you paid somebody to take of your finished projects. So if you go to the Risinger build, on his job board out front, there's a QR code on the very bottom right of that job board. Matt actually did a video explaining to his neighbors of, hey, you're gonna see a bunch of buses in the future of a lot of people. Here's what's going on that weekend. He also mentioned parking guidelines on how his team parks their trucks and how they're respectful for certain hours. So he's taking job site codes to a whole new level and says, well, I wanna communicate with the neighbors. Yeah. So that way they're not giving me a phone call about a truck that was there late at night or something happening. He also put 3D renderings and he put his portfolio on that same QR code. So when the neighbors come by and maybe they need a remodel or maybe they're looking for a builder, he has a marketing tool that he's using with QR codes on the job site, which is really creative. And then as you go through the project, he has their QR codes with all their finished details, a little detail about maybe some of the trim work, the design details, everything that's in that house. That way when the trades come on, they have access to everything they need at their fingerprints. So if you went yesterday, hopefully you saw those. If you're going tomorrow, definitely give them a shot. They're pretty cool to see how they've organized them on their job site.
Yeah, this next slide, this is a builder out of Utah, and there's one thing that I was noticing as I was scanning through their stuff that I loved. He actually created something that says, what else are we building? So in this, we've made it so that you can do other things besides just upload files, and that is direct links. So if you have a link to any website, you can create the QR code, put it in here, and it takes someone to a link. So this builder decided, hey, I'm building a spec home. I want people to come on my job site and see other homes that I'm doing or other things that I have going on. And I thought that was really cool. That was something, again, that I would have never thought about, that I thought is really neat, and it does. It gives you another tool to get other people more information on what you're building.
And my favorite part about what people are doing today is there's a lot of different softwares that everyone's using. So if you're a builder or if you're a trade, you're gonna have to go to software A for one thing, go to software B for your 3D scans, go to software C for your punch list. We've made it to where job site codes, that code sheet, it's the Bible for the project. You don't need to remember all the other softwares. You can just link them with a QR code. That way, if it's on the QR code sheet, you know you have access to what you need. So that's something that's really cool. We do have our own photo and video processor internally. So Stephanie on her site, she's going around and taking pictures at 4-way before drywall goes up, and she has all of her plumbing detail, where the electrical line's on, so if anything gets covered during sheetrock, she can reference those in the finished carpentry stage later on, or you could just link to like a Matterport. If you're already using Matterport, throw that link in there as well, and your trades have access to go back at that. So that's a really cool detail that we've added that the trades have really liked, is to be able to go back and figure out where that hidden water line went, or the outlet that got covered up.
Yeah, that is great. And actually, I think our next slide is going to show you the inside of the master bathroom at Wayne Manor, which is just that. I just go through and photograph everything because it is inevitable that the drywaller is going to cover up one of my little tiny fiber light wires or a speaker cover or even a can. Now I know where they are. Now I know how I can find them. And when the electrician comes back through and wires up all of his outlets and realizes like one of them's not working, it must be buried. He's not sticking a knife in the wall to try and find out where it is. He can just go in and he already has access. Doesn't have to call, they're just there.
And for the trade, it's in the same place. So he's not going to folder A for photos, folder B for any of your files. It's all in the exact same area that you created in the beginning of the project.
Yeah. So these are actual text messages from a client of mine. And I don't know how many times I've received text messages like this. Why would they do this instead of centering one piece of tile underneath the shower head and then putting equal pieces on either side? Well, the tile guy obviously had a reason that he did that, and he did. It was actually really good. He mirrored the other wall, and it just so happened this one was smaller. That could have been solved entirely if she wanted it that way by a spec sheet that was on the job site that the tile guy could have scanned and seen exactly how she wanted the tile. Another thing over here, it looks like interior doors were delivered. They're square top and not arch top. I said, that's what you ordered. Sent her a screenshot of her spec book that she hasn't seen for 9 months. And her response says, they're supposed to be arch top. So it's the fact that they may have seen a spec book when we started working together, but if you're not continuing to give them that information, that spec book's long gone. They don't remember signing it. They don't remember even seeing it or picking selections. But what they do know is what's on the job site isn't what they want right now.
Yeah, so giving the client the most updated file is extremely important. So the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place, right? We do that all the time where we think we've communicated about something in our lives and it didn't happen for some reason. Same thing in construction. So if you're thinking you've had honest communication with somebody, but you haven't been given a document that's finalized, or you haven't had a signature from the homeowner, or you don't have the file accessible, then, well, communication hasn't really taken place.
This is so common. I can't tell you how many times the designer's saying to the trade or the homeowner, oh, it's the builder's fault, and you feel like you're the bad guy. You can avoid all of that by just communicating better. Communication with your homeowners, communication with the designer, communication with your trades. All of it should be the same communication. Instead of us communicating different ways with different people, if we have everything uploaded into the account, we all see it. And this is one of the things that I love. There was actually a request from another builder who wanted this feature done and added to the program, was to have guest access. So someone like Whitney Barros, Randy Smith, and Jamie Newman are interior designers that are working on 3 different projects of mine. They don't have to have their own account. I can give them guest access. They can get into their project. They can't see any of my other projects, but they can see theirs, the one they're working on. And then the next slide is probably the most common question people have had, but what if the designer gets in there and deletes all the files? They've made it so that the designer can't delete any files except for hers, so she can edit, replace, and delete whatever she uploads, but she can't come in and delete my files. So I can always see the guest access user over here in my kind of overview of my account, and then it just shows me everything that they've uploaded, and I can constantly see how things are going on the job site with that designer. I think all of us are dying to have reviews from clients who say the communication was great, the project went great, things went smoothly, they kept us informed during the process. There are so many things that we can be asking for and hoping that our clients do in the end when they're writing that good review for us. And I think that good review comes from good communication. Even some of your worst clients in the world will end up leaving you a really good review in the end if they feel like you were at their best interest, you had their best interest at heart, and you built them the best home that you could. So, doesn't matter what software you use. This one's great, I love it, a lot of people love it. You can use anything you want. The three most important things: collaboration, communication, and clarity. So make sure that everyone's on the same page. Make sure that it's really clear what information is uploaded, what information is the right information to use, and also put it in there. That's the first part of it. That's the part that I think we all have trouble with the most. Even if it's not you, delegate someone to put the information in there. So go ahead.
I was going to say, you can contact us anytime. So our information's up here. There's some little squish balls on here. The reason we have those, there's QR codes. Not only do they have a show special to save you some money if you want to try job site codes, we also have a free 14-day trial on our website. If you want to take what we've done and maybe craft your own solution, I would encourage you to do that if that's what you want to do. But there's also some really cool things that Matt has done. So when you get to that QR code, you'll be able to see the video that Matt's done. We did a podcast together with a lot more information on there. So at least check it out and see if it's for you. But ultimately, we're encouraging you to go to that digital world, take the next step, try to communicate with your trades in a new way and give them access to the most current files in the easiest way possible.
So we have a couple minutes left. If anyone has any questions, we'll take some Q&A, and then you guys can get going to your next class.
And we have hats too. So.
Oh, yes.
Any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. You can upload PDF files, Excel files, images. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are uploading bids and sharing that with their customers. So it's kind of all in the same space.
It's kind of a blank canvas the way we've designed it, where all of the fields are completely editable. So if you wanted to be organized by trade, you can do that. If you want to be in Spanish, you can do that. If you want it to be by room, we give you the flexibility really to set that structure how you want it to be. And then from there, it's PDF, photo, video based. So it'll take any file, and we automatically scale them to the device they're viewed on. So it makes the internet speed really fast to view the files.
So he asked if there was a project management component. There's really not much of a, what specifically? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so in that we have, that's actually a sneak peek in the future. We are going to add punch items to the plan of job site code. So like I said, our goal is to fix the communication gaps that are happening on the job site. Punch lists are certainly part of that. We sent a survey out. If there's any job site code users, you probably got it. We sent a survey out asking about the next features, and that was #1 on our list to add punch list items to that. So we're going to launch that in Q1 of next year, and that'll be kind of the project management side for that. And I would give you some, I'll talk to you personally about the details if you want, because we have some really cool ideas we're going to share. Cool. Anyone else?
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Come up. I think the guys will give you some hats, and I hope you have a good day.
Cool. Thank you.